have 100% success to be happy, well, you're in the wrong place, but you wouldn't be here if you didn't already know that. Because some things are going to grow well, some things aren't on any given year. But most years you'll do extremely well, you know, with that vegetable garden. And gosh, it's time to get started and plant. Like I say, no garden is ever big enough. And which would you rather do, mow grass or, you know, work in the vegetable garden? I hope that you'll let some of that dead grass be turned into garden. Yes, ma'am.
Back to the snow peas for a second. You actually plant the seed.
The individual pea, yes. Yeah, each pod will have 4 to 6 peas in it. And when you buy, if you're growing them yourself, you know, you'll be planting individual peas. If you're making your own seed, when you buy it, what you're actually buying is the individual peas, and that's what you plant. Now, what's that?
You can plant that now.
You can plant them now. Most larger seeds like that, I will soak for a couple hours in water before I plant. Smaller seeds, don't do that, or you won't be able to handle them once they're wet. But peas are one thing that I think you're better off to soak before you plant. Peas are the one place where if you've never planted them in a given area, I would definitely use some inoculant. Some of the inoculant is a bacteria that forms nodules on the roots that are filled with a bacteria that's able to take nitrogen from the air and convert it into fertilizer. It's very important in planting beans. I mean, we use it all the time in the warm season planting beans. You only use it once. If you plant in the same soil year after year, there's plenty of it left. But if you're growing snow peas in an area that you've never grown beans or peas before, do inoculate your seed for the very best results. Other question?
Well, there was one quick one just in terms of,
Sure.
you talked about pulling up some plants and, you know,
Thinning.
Well, thinning, but also, I guess it was cauliflower.
Oh, yeah,
Plant and
Yeah.
pull it up, and you said plant other things. I'm just wondering, once everything's harvested, what's the best thing to do with the soil?
That's a great question, and that's something that you're just going to have to experiment and find out for yourself. Onions, for instance, can be planted from the middle of October all the way through the middle of February. So if you're limited on space, you may not be planting a whole lot of onions in October, but when you're pulling up your first crop of cauliflower in November, because you've harvested the heads from it, you might as well go ahead and plant onions back into that space. Or maybe you're harvesting last year broccoli and cauliflower in December, you can plant snow peas for an early spring crop back in those same areas. And it's just, if you've got time to work in your garden and maintain it, you don't need to have much bare ground out there at any point. And if you have areas that you're simply not going to grow anything, plant them with vetch or plant them with Austrian winter peas or something like that. It'll improve the soil to where your spring garden will be that much better.
Are there different varieties of snow peas?
Yes. I haven't found a bad one yet, but the main thing is know whether you're getting a bush pea or a binding pea. They all seem to taste pretty good. Yes, sir.
Are peas nitrogen fixation?
Yes, all legumes have the potential for fixing nitrogen, but the thing that fixes the nitrogen is those little bacteria that form the nodules on the roots. Those aren't just magically there. When you're planting those in an area for the first time, you do what we call inoculating. The seed is, it's like graphite. It's just a super, super fine powder. I will soak the seed, then I'll sprinkle just a little bit of inoculant in there and kind of shake it up. It's just like a black dust. Then you plant that, and you have the bacteria there, the nitrogen-fixing bacteria to form those nodules. And like I say, once you've done it once, they remain in the soil from year to year to year, provided you're not killing them out with chemical fertilizers and things. But first time you plant snow peas in an area, you're wise to use some garden inoculant.
You sell garden inoculant?
We do. We do. Yes, sir.
I planted my asparagus last year. What do I do?
Fertilize and water.
It's coming up. It's pretty good.
The asparagus that we snap off and eat, that's the same thing that makes the big feathery foliage if you didn't take it off. And what we're doing when we harvest asparagus, we're stunning the plant. We're breaking off its new growth as it comes out. So the more established the plant is, the longer we can keep snapping the top off of it before we really start hurting the plant. This will be the first year after they've been in. You can probably harvest for 2 or 3 weeks this spring. Right now I'd let them come up and make foliage. If you want to snap a couple of them off just to eat, asparagus very rarely makes it out of my garden. That's something, man. You've never eaten fresh asparagus when you snap it off of the ground. Oh, it's delicious. But this coming year, you probably harvest for 2 or 3 weeks. Next year, you probably harvest for 4 to 6 weeks. When they're really well established, you can harvest for 2 or 3 months where you have to let them start making foliage. Feed them every time you think about it. If you're using the dry stuff, do it 5 or 6 times a year. If you're doing the liquid, use it every couple of weeks. One other thing about asparagus, if you're going to grow asparagus, you need a big garden. It's the biggest joke in the world, people that want to go plant 6 asparagus plants. I mean, you're never going to make it out of the garden with a single one of them. You're going to be harvesting 1 or 2 or 3 spears a day. If you want to grow asparagus, plant 30 or 40 plants. I just don't think it's worth it to plant less, and that does take some room. But asparagus is toughened by sunlight. The shadier you keep the asparagus shoots as they come up, the more tender they will be. When your asparagus starts to produce in the spring, if you were to, mulch them yay deep with loose hay or something like that, and then when that little asparagus sprout first gets to the surface, you reach down and snap them off at ground level, and you have that almost white asparagus like you see at the store. Yeah, you can grow very, very good asparagus, but the return for the amount of space it takes is not high. The rewards are very good, but the return is not high. Yes, sir.
Can I ask a tomato question?
Okay.
My tomatoes look like I've been spraying them with 2,4-D. I mean, the leaves are curling up and they're long and spindly. Everybody keeps telling me spider mites, but I've been spraying for spider mites.
With seaweed?
With seaweed and then with this spider, with the miticide stuff.
Miticide
Well,
stuff?
that white,
neem or whatever?
bee teeth, whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, that's caterpillars only.
Oh.
It's a tough year for tomatoes. You may have some virus in there. You may have.
It looks like some virus.
It probably is.
And so I just give up on it?
Are they producing any tomatoes?
Give up?
If you need the space for something else, give up. If it's space you're not going to use, leave them for another month and see if they do anything. Viruses, we tend to think in terms of life and death. Viruses are either going to kill you or it's not. It's not the way it is in plants. Viruses can weaken a plant to where it can very seriously limit production. And that may be what you're looking at, a plant that's still alive, but it's not strong enough to produce anything. And if you've got the room, let it grow, fertilize it, see if it does anything. If that space would be better used for broccoli, throw it in the compost bin.
I got a little white fuzzy scale on my tomato plants. And we used soap. Insecticide of soap.
And took care of it?
Doing like that.
Yeah, just about any kind of insect that suck at the juice can cause
They show
that.
up and start dying. I've got some plants from a nursery, and they came with it apparently. I mixed it with my other plants.
It's been a tough year on tomatoes. I don't know anybody that's really got good tomatoes this year.
Is winter grass considered like a green crop, or
Winter
or is it
grass,
is it just meant to make your lawn green during the winter?
it's more just to make your lawn green.
So it
I
doesn't
guess you
do
grow
anything.
wheatgrass and harvest it and juice it, but no, it's strictly cosmetic. Yes.
You have a garden area that one gets a little bit less sun than the other of these plants that you talked about, which would be better?
Broccoli, cauliflower, things like that in the more sun. Leafy things like lettuce and less sun. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, I grew hollyhocks in 5-gallon buckets, and I wish I had put them in the ground. When's the best time to put them in the ground? And is
Hollyhocks
it
are a biennial. They need to grow for 2 seasons before they bloom. If you plant them now, you'll have flowers toward the end of next year. If you plant them in the spring, it may be the following spring before you have flowers.
But can I transplant it into the ground now, or should I wait?
If they've already flowered,
No.
oh no, go ahead and put them in the ground. By all means.
Is there a good time to do that?
Whenever you find them, there's not really a bad time. Hollyhocks you plant almost any time of the year,
Okay.
realizing it'll be 8 to 12 months before you see
And
flowers.
it's a virus, that orange stuff that's on it?
No, probably a fungus if there's something
Fungus.
orange on it.
How do I treat that?
Bring me a leaf and let's see what it is, and I'll tell you how to treat
It's
it.
pretty bad.
Probably corn water tea, soak cornmeal in water and spray, or else this stuff called plant wash.
Plant wash.
Plant wash is a very good fungicide, and it's all natural. Yes, ma'am.
Talk to us a little bit about fish emulsion, because I know you always say things don't burn, but boy, if that's too hot and people are putting it on, can that not burn, or?
It's unlikely. It's going to stink, but it's not going to burn very much.
It's not gonna burn.
The better fish emulsions are not made through a heat process. They're made through what we call a cold press process, hydrolyzing, and I don't think, very unlikely you're going to burn anything with that. Let me tell everybody one thing before you get away. Next week, and it'll be the first time we've done this, not really for young people, but if any of y'all have kids or grandkids that you really want to get involved in gardening, there's some special things I want to tell you about that. So we're going to do a seminar next week on getting your kids involved in gardening, which should be a lot of fun, I hope. Yes, sir.